You lied to me my whole life, I screamed, holding the DNA results with trembling hands. Mrs. Carmen, the woman I'd called just the maid, was sobbing uncontrollably. My stepdad, Mr. Crane, stood frozen, face white as a sheet. I didn't have a choice, Carmen whispered. He made me. My world shattered right there in our marble foyer under the chandelier that suddenly felt like it might crush me. I was born to rule, or at least that's what my stepdad always said. Delilah Crane, future queen of this house, Mr. Crane would beam, ruffling my hair as we swept through the marble halls of our mansion. I had the life every girl on TikTok drooled over. Closet bigger than most apartments, drivers on standby, VIP everything. I was untouchable, and I made sure everyone knew it, especially Carmen, our maid. She wasn't exactly young. Her hands were cracked from years of cleaning, and her eyes drooped with exhaustion, even when she smiled. Always so meek, so careful, like one wrong move would get her fired. Honestly, I thought she was pathetic. Whenever she flinched at my mom's sharp voice or scurried to wipe invisible dust, I'd smirk. "You're lucky we even let you live here," I'd mutter under my breath, loud enough for her to hear. Mom said kindness was weakness. "If they smell weakness, they'll take advantage," she warned, smoothing on her $600 lipstick. "Remember, darling, you're better. Act like it." So I did. The first crack in my perfect life came on an ordinary Tuesday. I was supposed to meet my boyfriend, Asher, at the tennis courts. Instead, Carmen stopped me at the door, wringing her hands, looking like she might pass out. "Miss Delilah, your mother, Mrs. Crane, she asked me to remind you about your etiquette tutor today." I rolled my eyes so hard it hurt. "Ugh, seriously? Like that's more important than my life?" Carmen flinched. She said she'd dock my pay if you don't go. That caught my attention. "You?" I laughed. "What's it matter to you? You're just the help." Something flickered across her face. Not sadness, anger. For a split second, Carmen looked like she might say something else. Something big. But she swallowed it down and nodded. "Of course, Miss Delilah." I watched her hurry away, hugging herself, and for some reason, I felt weird. Like I'd kicked a puppy. Whatever. Not my problem. Later that night, I was scrolling through Instagram when I heard voices from the kitchen. "You have to tell her," Carmen was whispering, fierce. "And lose everything? No. She's better off not knowing," my stepdad hissed. I crept closer, heart thudding. "Tell me what?" Suddenly, Carmen turned and spotted me. Her face went pale. "Go to bed, Delilah," Mr. Crane barked, his smile snapping into place like a mask. "Adults are talking." I fled upstairs, pretending I hadn't heard anything. But the seed was planted. That night, lying under my 800 thread count sheets, I kept hearing Carmen's voice. "You have to tell her." "Tell me what?" The next morning, everything seemed normal. Mr. Crane kissed my forehead. Carmen served pancakes. Mom shrieked at the gardeners over the roses. But I couldn't shake the feeling. Something was very wrong. And somehow, Carmen was right in the middle of it. I started noticing the whispers more often after that night. Carmen and Mr. Crane would suddenly stop talking whenever I walked into the room. Mom became jumpier too, barking orders like a general on caffeine. It was like they were all scared of something, or someone. But me? I was still Queen Bee. Or at least, I pretended to be. Asher, my boyfriend, was my escape. Rich, cocky, with a jawline that could cut glass, he made life feel normal, at least until the fundraiser dinner. The Cranes were hosting one of their infamous charity galas, where the rich wore $5,000 gowns to raise money for causes they didn't care about. Carmen was running around setting tables, her face shiny with sweat. I watched her accidentally bump into one of the servers and spill wine on a senator's wife's dress. The woman gasped like she'd been stabbed. Mr. Crane flew over in seconds. "What did I tell you about being careful?" He growled at Carmen, yanking her by the elbow. I saw it then. Not anger. Fear. Desperation. "I'm sorry," Carmen whispered. Her hands were trembling. "I didn't mean—" "Go clean up before you ruin the whole night," he snapped. The room watched in silence. I couldn't help but smirk. Serves her right, I thought. You can take the girl out the slums. But later, in the bathroom, I heard two women gossiping. "I swear, that maid's been here longer than the stepmom," one of them whispered. "Some say she was here before even Mr. Crane married the first Mrs. Crane." "You think she knows something?" "More like she is something. You ever notice how much that girl looks like her?" I froze in the stall, heart racing. They meant me. When I got home that night, I pulled up a photo of Carmen from the staff records. Her eyes, deep brown, almond-shaped. Mine were the same. So were the cheekbones. No, that was ridiculous. I stormed into my mom's room. Hey, where are my baby photos? She blinked. Why? School project, I lied. Genealogy stuff. Her smile faltered. They burned. The old house fire. Remember? That was news to me. I'd never even heard of a fire. Then she added, way too fast. You were adopted, technically. I mean, I married your dad when you were a baby and… Wait, what? I laughed, but it came out hollow. You've never said that. Well, it's not like it matters, she said, brushing her hair. We gave you a better life. I left the room numb. Adopted? Why had no one told me? And why did Carmen suddenly avoid my eyes every time I entered the room? That night, I found Carmen in the laundry room, folding sheets like her life depended on it. Hey, I said. She turned, startled. Did you know I was adopted? I asked. Her hands froze mid-fold. Yes. Why didn't anyone ever tell me? She swallowed. It wasn't my place. But you knew, I pressed. I've known since the day you arrived, she whispered. I stared at her. Her hands were shaking again, and for the first time, I saw something in her eyes. Guilt. Everything blew up at the winter benefit. The cranes went all out. Chandeliers, champagne towers, and some celebrity chef no one could pronounce. I was dressed like royalty, my curls pinned with diamonds, and Asher on my arm. But Carmen? She looked like she hadn't slept in days. As guests danced to string quartets, I cornered her near the kitchen. I need answers, I hissed. Now, Carmen flinched. Miss Delilah, please, not here. You knew I was adopted. You know who my real parents are, don't you? She opened her mouth, then shut it again. I deserve to know, I snapped. Carmen looked around. Fine. Meet me after the guests leave. Midnight. Back garden. But she never showed. Instead, something else did. A letter. Slipped under my bedroom door in old handwriting. No name, no return address. Just, check the storage room behind the east wing. It's time you knew. I crept out in heels, flashlight trembling in my hand. The room was full of dust and forgotten things. And tucked in a file box beneath a stack of old linens, I found them. Adoption papers. My name, my birth date. And under biological mother, Carmen M. James. I almost dropped the paper. No way, that couldn't be right. I was shaking so hard I could barely breathe. I flipped through more documents, hospital records, a photo, a baby wrapped in pink, Carmen, young and exhausted, holding me. Footsteps echoed behind me. It was Mom. Her lipstick was smeared. She looked furious. What are you doing in here? She snapped. I held up the papers. What is this? Her eyes went cold. Put that down. Carmen's my mom? My voice broke. You lied to me? She's nothing, she hissed. She gave you up. We saved you. You stole me. Don't be dramatic. But I wasn't listening anymore. I ran out of the storage room, out of the mansion, barefoot and sobbing. The next day, I confronted Carmen. She burst into tears the second she saw me. I didn't want this life for you, she whispered. They promised you'd have everything I couldn't give. You let them treat you like trash, I said, voice shaking. While I mocked you, my own mother. She reached for me. I stepped back. I need proof, I choked. I want a DNA test. Carmen nodded, like she'd been waiting years for this moment. Okay. But what she didn't know, and what I didn't know yet, was that the DNA test would uncover more than just maternity. It would destroy everything. The envelope sat on my desk like it had a pulse. I stared at it for hours. Carmen paced behind me, wringing her hands. Whatever it says, she whispered, you have the right to know. I tore it open. It was true. Carmen James, 99.99% probability of maternity. I was her daughter. I wanted to scream, cry, punch something, but I just sat there numb. Then my eyes caught a second sheet, a name I didn't expect. Paternal match, Jonathan Crane. I blinked. No, that couldn't be. I flipped the page. Probability of paternity, 99.98%. Jonathan Crane, my stepfather. My chest tightened. The room spun. That's not possible, I whispered. He married Mom. He raised me. Carmen went pale. She covered her mouth. You said you gave me up, I whispered. But was I taken? She shook her head, tears falling. I didn't know he'd take you. What do you mean? Carmen crumbled into the chair. I worked for his family. I was just a maid. He forced himself on me. My throat closed. He said no one would believe me, she continued, voice hollow. Said I was lucky he didn't fire me. When I got pregnant, he offered to adopt the baby. Said you'd have a better life. but I didn't understand what he meant until it was too late. I couldn't breathe. My whole life was a lie, and the man I'd called Dad, a predator. I ran, again, out the room, down the stairs, into the foyer where my stepdad stood like he'd been waiting. "You knew," I said, holding up the DNA report. His face didn't change. "I gave you everything. You raped my mother." His jaw tightened. "Be careful what you say. I'm not afraid of you." He stepped forward. "You should be." Then a voice cut through the tension. "Get away from her," Carmen said. She was standing at the top of the stairs, spine straight, face fierce. For the first time, she didn't look like a maid. She looked like a mother. "You don't control us anymore," she said. Guests began filtering in behind us. Family, staff, investors. Everyone staring, watching. "What's going on?" someone whispered. I turned to the crowd. "This man adopted me after assaulting my biological mother," I said, loud and clear, "and kept it secret for 17 years. Gasps. Phones out, cameras flashing. Mr. Crane froze. The truth was out, and nothing could ever go back to the way it was. Mr. Crane underestimated me. He thought exposing the truth would make me run, hide, beg for mercy. Instead, it lit something inside me. A fire. Carmen and I packed what little we could that night. It was surreal, stuffing designer bags with secondhand memories. Every trophy, every picture frame felt like a lie. "They'll smear us," Carmen warned, folding my debate medals into a pillowcase. "They have money, lawyers." "Good," I said, zipping up my suitcase. "I'm tired of being scared." Before we left, I snuck into Mr. Crane's office. It was locked, of course. But I remembered the code, my fake birthday. The irony made me laugh. Inside, the room smelled like leather and secrets. I searched everywhere, desk drawers, bookshelves, under the carpet. And finally, behind a loose panel in the wall, I found it. A black binder labeled settlements. Page after page of NDAs, names, payouts, women. I swallowed bile. He'd done this before. I took photos of every single page, heart-hammering. This wasn't just about me anymore. I had a weapon now. The next day, Carmen and I met with a journalist, someone she trusted, a woman named Tessa who had once been blackballed for exposing a senator. Tessa listened carefully, her face hardening with every word. "This is explosive," she said, flipping through the photos on my phone. "If we run this, your stepfather's life is over." "Good," I said again, my voice steel. But it wasn't that easy. Mr. Crane must have sensed something. That night, he showed up at the cheap motel we were hiding in, flanked by security. "Come home, Delilah," he said, like nothing had happened, like I was still his little princess. I stood behind the motel door, clutching the baseball bat Carmen had handed me. "Not a chance," I said. "You'll regret this," he hissed through the crack in the door. I smiled sweetly. "Already do." He left after Carmen threatened to call the police, but the message was clear: he wasn't done. The next morning, the article dropped. Front page, full color, pictures, testimonies, copies of NDAs. Billionaire philanthropist accused of pattern of abuse. Mr. Crane's face plastered across every screen, every paper. Investors pulled out, sponsors fled. The Crane name crumbled overnight. I watched the news from our tiny motel bed, Carmen's hand gripping mine. Tears slid down her cheeks. "For you," she whispered, "I'd do it all again." For the first time in 17 years, I didn't feel like an imposter in my own skin. I felt free. But freedom, it turned out, had a cost. Because just as the world turned against Mr. Crane, someone else decided to come after me. We weren't safe. Not even close. Within hours of the article dropping, we lost the motel room. The manager, looking jittery, refunded our money with shaking hands. "Sorry, folks. Big misunderstanding. Can't have troublemakers here," he said, avoiding eye contact. "Troublemakers. That's what telling the truth made you." We loaded our bags into Carmen's beat-up sedan, hearts pounding. "Where now?" she asked. "We'll figure it out," I lied. "I called Asher. He always said he'd die for me, right?" No answer. I texted my best friend, Tori. "Please. Anywhere we can crash?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No reply. The Cranes had deep pockets. They must have made some calls. Suddenly we were pariahs, homeless, alone. I tried not to cry as Carmen drove aimlessly through town. Every fancy restaurant, every boutique, every spa, they all looked foreign now, like I'd stepped outside my own life. Finally, Carmen pulled over at an abandoned playground. We sat in silence, listening to the creak of rusty swings. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" I whispered. "For bringing you into this world," she said, voice cracking. "For letting them take you." I reached across the car and squeezed her hand. This isn't your fault, it's his. She smiled, but her eyes stayed sad. That night, as we tried to sleep cramped in the car, headlights blinded us. I bolted upright. 3 men in dark suits approached, Mr. Crane's security team. "We need you to come with us," the tallest one said. "No way," Carmen said, locking the doors. They circled the car. Panic surged. I yanked out my phone, fumbling for 911. Before I could hit call, the back window shattered. "Run!" Carmen screamed. We grabbed our bags and bolted into the darkness. I didn't look back. I just ran, sneakers slapping against wet pavement. We ducked into an alley, hearts hammering. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. A cold voice spoke. "You can't hide forever, Delilah." It was him, Mr. Crane. I wanted to scream. Instead, I ended the call. Carmen clutched my shoulders. "We can't win," she whispered. "Yes, we can," I said, even though fear clawed at my insides. I had something he didn't, the truth, and someone he couldn't control anymore. Me. We couldn't keep running. So we started fighting back. Tessa, the journalist, got us a burner phone and a lawyer willing to work pro bono. "He'll try to bury you in lawsuits," the lawyer warned. "Stay loud, public. They can't kill what the world is watching." So that's exactly what we did. We went live. Carmen and I sat side by side on a cheap couch in a women's shelter. No makeup, no fancy clothes, just raw truth. I told the world everything: the assault, the adoption, the blackmail, the nightmarish, perfect life I was forced to live. And Carmen, brave, beautiful Carmen, spoke too. She told her story in a trembling voice, years of pain finally pouring out. Within hours, the video went viral. Justice for Carmen trended. News anchors replayed our faces on repeat. Suddenly, we weren't invisible anymore. We were a movement. But Mr. Crane didn't go down without a fight. He held a press conference, oozing fake charm. "These troubled young women are trying to destroy my reputation," he said, voice syrupy. "I have nothing but compassion for their confusion." Confusion. I nearly threw the burner phone across the room. Tessa leaned in. "Don't let him bait you. We're winning." And we were. Donations flooded the shelter. Lawyers volunteered to help us sue for damages. More women came forward, hidden for years, now brave enough to speak. Crane Enterprises' stock plummeted. The board held an emergency meeting to remove Mr. Crane from power. Carmen and I watched the vote from a tiny shelter TV. When the announcement came that he was officially out, I broke down sobbing. She held me. For the first time in my life, it wasn't a maid comforting her mistress. It was a mother holding her daughter. That night, we sat on the shelter roof, wrapped in thrifted blankets, watching the stars. "What now?" Carmen asked. I thought about it. Revenge was sweet, but it wasn't enough. "I'm gonna live," I said. "For real this time. Not for them. Not for what they wanted me to be." She smiled through her tears. "I'm proud of you," she said. And for once, I believed her. The courtroom was packed. Cameras lined the back wall. Reporters elbowed each other for space. Everyone wanted to see the fall of Jonathan Crane. Carmen sat beside me in a navy dress we borrowed from a donation bin. Her hair was pulled back, her posture tall. She looked like everything she was, a survivor. Mr. Crane entered like a king. Custom suit, smug smile, flanked by lawyers. But something was different now. People weren't clapping, they were watching, waiting. The prosecution began with a bang, playing our live video from the shelter. My voice trembled from the speakers, echoing through the courtroom. Then came the binder. The NDAs, the testimonials from other women. The gasps were audible. Mr. Crane's lawyers tried everything, said Carmen was unstable. I was confused, that this was an orchestrated character assassination. But the crowd wasn't buying it. And then Carmen took the stand. She spoke slowly, clearly, not just about the assault, but about the years afterward, the guilt, the fear, the humiliation of cleaning the mansion while her daughter lived inches away. "She'd look at me like I was dirt," she said, voice breaking, and I took it, because I knew if I told her, they'd take her away again. I watched the jury. Some were crying. After hours of testimony, it was my turn. I walked to the stand, hands sweaty, knees trembling. But then I saw Carmen in the crowd, nodding. So I told the truth about growing up in a golden cage, about the moment I found those papers, about the way Mr. Crane tried to control everything, even who I was allowed to be. I ended with one line: "He built his empire by stealing lives, and I'm taking mine back." The courtroom went still. The judge called for a recess. Outside, the press swarmed. I didn't say much, just held Carmen's hand as the cameras flashed. And for once, I wasn't posing. I wasn't playing the rich girl, I was just Delilah. Later that evening, the judge returned. No jail, not yet, but a restraining order was granted. Criminal charges pending investigation, and most importantly, the Crane estate would be frozen until a full inquiry. Everything he built, cracked, and Carmen and I, still standing. After the trial, things didn't magically go back to normal, because normal never really existed. The Crane mansion was put on the market. For the first time, I realized how cold it had always felt, like a museum of someone else's life. Carmen and I didn't want it. We took what mattered, photos, memories, and a few boxes of my childhood junk, and walked away. Tori finally called. She cried, said she'd been scared, said her parents told her to stay away from bad publicity. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I didn't forgive her. Not yet. But I didn't hate her either. Asher texted too, said he missed me. I didn't even open it. Some people can't follow you where you're going. Carmen found a job at a local women's center, helping others like her. Like us. She glowed there. She came home tired but full, laughing at things that used to scare her. "I'm not a maid anymore," she said once, staring at her reflection. "I'm not afraid anymore either. I started school again. Not private, not elite, public. The first day was hard. People whispered. Some stared, a few pointed. But one girl, a quiet freshman with tight curls and nervous hands, slipped me a note. "Thank you for what you did. My mom, he hurt her too. She never said anything, but after your story, she's going to." That note, I still keep it in my locker. One night, Carmen and I sat on our small apartment balcony, sharing greasy takeout from paper bags. "This isn't the life I imagined for you," she said, voice soft. I looked around. City lights, music from somewhere below, laughter from the hallway. "It's not the life they imagined either," I said, "but it's mine now." She smiled, and for once it wasn't sad, just proud. Graduation day came faster than I expected. Carmen ironed my gown while humming some old song I didn't know. I watched her, thinking how strange it was that she once lived in the same house but felt like a stranger. Now, she was home. The crowd at the ceremony clapped politely for every student. When they called my name, I stood tall and walked across the stage. But in my mind, I didn't hear my last name. I heard hers, Delilah James. After the ceremony, a reporter approached me outside the school. "Any final thoughts for the people watching your journey?" she asked. I smiled. "Yeah, love doesn't always come in a perfect package. Sometimes it wears an apron and hides pain behind quiet eyes. But it's still love." Carmen teared up beside me. We walked away from the cameras. A month later, we got a letter from the court. Mr. Crane had taken a plea deal, 5 years minimum. It wasn't nearly enough, but it was something. Better than silence. I ripped the letter into tiny pieces and flushed it down the toilet. Good riddance. In August, Carmen surprised me. She had taken a GED course and passed. She held up her certificate with both hands, grinning like a kid with a birthday cake. "You're not the only one graduating this year," she said. I cried so hard I couldn't even speak. And then the biggest twist of all. We were invited to speak at a women's leadership conference. Me and Carmen. Side by side. We stood on stage, not as maid and daughter, not even just as survivors, but as women who had clawed their way back from silence. I read my final lines. "I used to live in a house made of glass and secrets, but now I live in truth, and I'd rather have that than all the mansions in the world." Thunderous applause. Carmen hugged me, and just like that, the story that started with silence ended in a standing ovation. Wow, what a ride! If you enjoyed this twist-filled journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stories by Laine for more unforgettable drama and surprises. And before you go, tell us, what would you have done if you were in Delilah's situation? Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Thanks for watching, and remember, twists you will not see coming await in every chapter.